You'll get out from behind the DJ booth and, you know, like, we about to do the electric slide, you know what I'm saying?
What's up, everybody? My name is Adam, and I'm the host of the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, the show that is dedicated on bringing on passionate people, learning about their stories, and delivering value to entrepreneurs. So if that's what you're interested in, go ahead and follow, like, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying?
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, where you get to know just a little bit more about people, passions, and all things business. Today, sitting across the way, I have Jordon Bala.
What's going on? What's up? What's up?
Of TAAG Golf, as well as Top Shelf Entertainment.
Yes,
Welcome
sir.
to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks
Yeah, we've actually known each other for 4 or 5 years now.
About close to that. We met during Dancing with Statesboro.
Dancing?
Stars,
Okay, you got a little dancing. Yeah, I like it. I remember because you came on the year after me and Stephanie participated, which we won. And then I remember seeing you, and I was like, man, that guy can really dance.
I got a mover two here and there, kind of tucked in my back pocket.
And you're really good friends with Maceo as well, right?
He's one of my best friends.
Yeah. You still keep in touch with him?
Oh, yeah.
He's crushing the game right now.
Oh, dude, he's doing such phenomenal things with Savannah Bananas.
Yeah.
And not even just them. I mean, choreographing and teaching at all kind of different studios. You know?
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Mace.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it really stands testament to, just always being in the game. You know, as a dancer, I think it's really challenging at times to be able to do that, but he's really stayed the course and it's kind of flourished, which is amazing for him. What I like to say in here is usually birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about the success that you've had. You kind of like been doing entrepreneurship for quite some time.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the start, or where you believe the start of your entrepreneurial journey was.
So I think majority of everything kind of kicked off back in high school. I've always been obsessed with entertainment, which is kind of what led into Top Shelf. But it was kind of a no-brainer for myself because although I was really good in school, I didn't like it, man. I didn't like I didn't like being taught as if you were talking at me. I wanted to learn hands-on and actually be involved in the moment and everything that I was interested in as far as owning my own company and still wanting to be involved in entertainment. I felt I didn't need a degree with that, which nothing against anyone that pursues college for that purpose. I do believe education is important. But I also believe the other argument on the other side of the table is that it's not a necessary thing for everyone.
Yeah.
But that's what was an easy decision for me, and the fact that I didn't want to pursue that type of education, but more so reading the books, the seminars, the channels as far as entrepreneurship and wealth development and business expanding. It got me into starting Top Shelf Entertainment. Which was just me.
Yeah.
And now we've grown to the point I've got a couple different DJs with me. I've got 6 or 7 different coordinators now. So we offer coordinating and planning.
Wow.
Officiating services.
Yeah. So let's lay down some groundwork.
Yeah.
What is Top Shelf Entertainment?
So Top Shelf Entertainment is a premier entertainment and coordinating service in the surrounding low country area, or personally I feel in the southeast. And the reason I say that is because we do travel a little bit. We've done some work in a couple other states in Alabama, Tennessee, Carolinas, Florida. But we offer top of the line DJ MC work. We offer day of coordinating for weddings and events, more so private style versus club work, even though myself and a couple of my other DJs have club experience.
Sure.
The private industry is more so where we're entailed to. So with that coordination, it's about a month of planning where we take a lot of our couples planning and we put it on paper and we execute it to where their responsibilities on wedding day is 2 things only. They get married and have a good time.
Yeah.
And as long as they allow us to do our job, we're going to make sure that they do exactly that.
Yeah, some roses and praises for you. For those that don't know, I'm involved with a company called to Fly Guys Media Production. A large portion of our business is in the wedding industry, and as a wedding videographer, you get to listen to a lot of the DJs out there. And, you know, one of the things that makes its rounds is the level of showmanship that Top Shelf puts on in terms of actually knowing how to mix in the music, how to get a crowd moving, not just moving one track to the other. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but, you know, to oftentimes when you're in the moment, when you're moving, when you're dancing, the worst thing that you can do is stop it and start it again, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And our guys do have a background in that mixing standpoint. But along with that showmanship, you know, I'm a very firm believer. I don't believe, and I may catch a little flack for this, but I believe that you should know how to speak on a mic if you're truly going to be considered a DJ. And I don't mean DJ Khaled style where it's every 30 seconds you're over the track.
Another one.
Yeah.
Another one.
We the best. Shout out DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
But in the sense of how we represent ourselves and how we introduce certain events and settings or tasks within the event. You know, you'll never hear us say something as boring as, all right, they're going to dance now.
Yeah.
Because that's not a show.
Yeah.
That's not entertainment.
That's right.
So we're a lot more intricate and detailed with our MC instruction. So all of our guests or anybody involved at the party that we're hosting, they know what's happening, when it's happening, and where it's happening.
And that's to a certain extent. I've seen you in action before at some of the events that we've put on together, and seeing you not only, you know, put on a good show for people, but also take the lead, right? You'll get out from behind the DJ booth and, you know, like, we about to do the electric slide, you know what I'm saying? So I think that level of commitment and dedication to ensuring that your guests have an amazing experience is why your organization has grown, and is why you will continue to grow. I believe that firmly.
I appreciate that. We take a lot of pride in the service, and I say we because I wouldn't be here in the manner that I am today and the growth that I've seen within my company over the past couple of years if it weren't for the team that I have working with me. All of my team members are phenomenal, and all of them share the same passion and drive to make sure that we put on the best event for these couples that we possibly can, especially because there's no do-overs in this.
Yeah.
There's not a do-over. Well, I take that back. Maybe it's, you know, we offer discounts on repeat customers. So. But, you know, it's a one shot.
Yeah.
It's you don't get an opportunity to back the day up and try to rework or fix something. So you want to make sure that everything you do is to the best of your ability in that one moment.
That's right.
I feel like I'm quoting an Eminem song.
I love that.
At the moment.
I love it. So talk to me about, I guess, what got you into DJing in the first place, right? Like, was that something that you had picked up? You mentioned that, you know, early on you had interest in the entertainment industry. So
what I mean necessarily or more pinpoint on entertainment, I actually was involved in a lot of acting.
Oh, you were?
I did, I was. I did a lot of acting in high school. Did some classes and some things up in New York. I was in some commercials and movies here locally.
That's awesome.
Down in Florida, I was a performer at Busch Gardens for a little while.
Okay.
But I've always had a love for music in general.
Okay.
And DJing never, I'll be honest, it never really crossed my mind.
Okay.
Where I got started was back in high school, where a good family friend of ours who owns the Mackey House, which is a very prominent venue here in Savannah, they mentioned that they were looking for someone to train and step in a directing, coordinating, and DJ position because of the amount of growth that they were seeing. And because of my love for music and entertainment and dancing and acting, I was like, well, maybe that might be something I'm interested in. I don't know. I've never dealt with it. First wedding, I was hooked. The very first wedding.
How did you? So this is very interesting to me because your willingness to go there, right? Like you have interest in it, obviously, but like what made you jump in, right? Like, did you already have your own equipment? Did you have like all?
I had nothing.
Nothing at all.
I had absolutely nothing. When I first started training, I was using a lot of the equipment they had on site. A good old Diamond Dave is my man who really got me interested in the wedding industry and showed me with his passion and how well he does with his events and his couples and clients.
So he's a DJ as well?
He is.
Okay.
He's like a triple threat in the wedding industry.
Oh, he is?
He can officiate, he can do the directing, and he can do the DJ MC work.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not certified to be an officiant, but I'm working on that.
Oh, okay,
so I can do everything else.
We coming for you. We coming for you.
But yeah, it was one of those situations where I'd spoken to my mom about it at the time, and when she had brought it to my attention that that's what they were looking for, again, I'd never been interested in weddings before or even DJ work, but with my passion in music and loving music as much as I did and that dance background, that competitive dance background, music was really what drove a lot of my entertainment style of life. And it came down to the decision of why not? I mean, what's the worst that happens? The worst that happens is I go out there and I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. It's not for me. And then I can check that off the list knowing that it's not for me and, follow another path or find another path to pursue something else.
How important was that dance background to DJing?
I'd say ultimately I wouldn't call it important, per se, because I believe that you can be a heck of a DJ and not have a dancing bone in your body. But you have a sense of rhythm. And having that dance background and structure and having rhythm and knowing beats and how to count certain beats definitely made it a lot easier to transition over into the DJ side of things, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're starting to dabble in yourself a little bit, starting to get into some mixing.
I like it.
I might have you come out and DJ some weddings for me, man.
They ain't ready for that. One more question about this before we move on to kind of like, the new stuff that you have going on. Do you feel that everybody is dancing in rhythm a innate ability? Or is it something that, that can be learned? Because you probably see a lot of people tearing up that dance floor. And when I say tearing up, there's multiple ways that can be done.
Yeah. I think that it is... God, that's a touchy subject. I have to be careful with how I explain this here because I've seen some footwork, and that's for the best or worse in some weddings. I believe ultimately it comes down to passion and willingness to learn. It's a lot harder if you struggle with rhythm in itself and being able to count and tap on 2 and 4 or off beats. It makes it more difficult. But I found that even on the dancing side, and I know Maceo can attest to this for me, perfect example with him teaching some of the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah.
Those guys are baseball players.
Yeah.
They're not dancers.
Sure.
But he teaches in an aspect, almost in a lyrical sense, that's easier for them to know, hey, I need to do this move or put my hand in this position in this way.
When the word is.
When this word is, their key words, which is a very, I don't want to say beginner, but ultimately that's kind of what it is. It's a very easy intro level on how to teach someone dance versus learning to hit moves on beats in the background that sometimes don't match with the lyrics.
That's right.
But you're basing everything off of a 2 and 4 count.
That's right.
Which that's where you get more into the intermediate and professional style level that you see a lot of Maceo doing and things like that. And what I used to do, but I'm getting old now. So
don't say that. Don't say that. I really enjoy hearing about because I can hear the passion that you have for this area, this business that you do. But you've also decided to parlay all that experience into another organization or company. And that is also extremely exciting. So tell me a little bit about TAAG.
So TAAG, the Above Average Golf, is a company that I've decided to create, if you will, in a sense to bring I don't want to say new addition because, what I'm bringing to this area has been around, but it's nowhere near this district, if that makes sense. I'm bringing a new addition to the game of golf to this area that adds just more excitement and honestly kind of caters to a lot of the changes that are happening in the sport of golf. In the sense of, a lot of people don't know golf's been around for centuries. Golf actually started, historians will argue, back in the 1400s and was banned in don't quote me on this, I want to say 1456 by King Henry II.
Okay.
No golf, no football. And then the first actual 13 rules that, if I'm not mistaken, are still a part of the rules of golf today weren't written until the 1700s. So golf's been around for quite some time. But I feel it kind of got stagnant. It kind of got to the point to where a lot of the new and younger generation, not as many were gearing towards a sport that really does have some excitement and takes a lot more skill than people realize.
It's a very difficult game. I think, out of all the sports, golf has got to be one of the most difficult, simply because you are literally playing against yourself, right? Like
exactly.
You don't have any team. Like in another sport, you can pass the ball, you can get rid of the rock or whatever it is. But in golf, you are every reason why you are succeeding.
Exactly.
And also failing.
Yeah, like you said, in other sports, you can lean on your teammates.
Yeah.
And there are versions of golf that you can do the same, but ultimately, like you said, if you're playing poorly, it starts to become such a mental game that you get within your own head and you start overthinking and overanalyzing everything. But I mean, God rest his soul, Robin Williams explained it perfectly in his skit of how golf was created when he talks about about taking a little stick with it, and I'm going to change the wording here, with a messed up end and hitting a ball this big and sticking a hole this big 500 yards away and telling you got 3 to 5 hits to get it to that hole and put it in. And seeing these professionals say, all right, well, I'm going to take this club and I'm going to angle it at this degree and hit it with this stance and this foot position, and I'm going to open the club face just a little bit more and choke down just a little bit more so I have some backspin, but I want to land it, 7 yards further than I intentionally want it to go, and this and that. Those guys get way, way detailed into it versus someone like me. I go out on the course and say, it looks like a 7-iron. And just kind of swing away.
That's right. So how is TAAG going to bring a fresh perspective on this sport of golf?
So, I guess I'll go ahead and discuss it because, the product's here now.
Sure.
I'm bringing what is all over Europe.
Okay.
It's all over the West Coast, and I think the closest anywhere here is Arizona. They are electric golf scooters that are, in the sense, like Harleys. So they look like a motorcycle. They have the same feel and ride as a motorcycle. No very wide turns, leaning with the bike.
Sure.
But it's a sense of excitement.
Sure.
That allows you to have a little more fun than your standard golf cart. Yeah. As well as, it has benefits for the course and for the players as well. So it's going to speed up your pace of play. because every rider, in the group can go to their own ball instead of having to drive to one ball, wait for that person to hit, drive to the next ball, wait for that person to hit, and then the same, if you're in a foursome, the same two in your group also have to do the same thing. Versus if you're on these bikes, everybody can go to their own individual shot
and then meet up at the
yep. So it speeds up the pace of play. It does less damage to the course, which as an avid golfer, it is something that we really care about. Especially if you're a member at this course, you want the course to look nice.
Yeah.
You're paying a lot of money to be out there and enjoy a sport and an activity that you love so much. It's not as fun when people have driven these big heavy golf carts through wet patches and mudded and tried to go off-wheel or off-road mud bogging with them. So the weight distribution of these and being a fat tire scooter will do less damage to the course.
Okay.
But yeah, man, I don't know if you'll post a photo or video.
We could
on
drop
this
in
or
a
not,
picture, like right here, and kind of like have people take a look at it and see what's going on. How did you get to this point? Like, what made you interested in this golf bike, if you will?
So, aside from to kind of lead into that, aside from the entertainment aspect, I grew up playing sports my entire life.
Okay. What sports?
Baseball was number one. I played just about every sport there was.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball was the longest. I played baseball from about the time I was 3.5, 4 years old. 6 years old, I started travel ball and played up until I was 15 playing travel ball.
Yeah.
We won state a couple times. I love it.
That's awesome.
Dabbled in golf here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to look back and realize that golf was something that I could enjoy as I got older, I probably would have swayed more into that at a younger age because it's something that I can continue to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And versus baseball, you're not going to catch me. I play softball, men's softball, and things like that, but you're not going to catch me on a professional field running around.
That's right.
At this point, because I'm nowhere near trained up for it.
Yeah.
But with the bikes, I actually saw the bikes on TikTok.
Okay.
And I was sitting at my day work and sitting next to a friend of mine, and we were scrolling through TikTok. And I said, "Dang, man, look at these things! Like, these are really cool." And realized that it was at a course out in California. And he said, "Man, yeah, that'd be really cool if we could get something like that out here. We don't ever get anything like this in our area." And that's how the question came to be of why not?
Yeah.
Why don't we have anything like this?
Mm-hmm.
Something that's going to change up the experience of golf, take it above average.
Yeah.
Which is what kind of led into the name. But yeah, I question why can't someone bring these carts out here?
This is kind of like taking a step outward and kind of like looking at this, and it's really for the people that are listening to the channel. Do you oftentimes think about, like, what caught my interest in that interaction that you just described there was your friend saying that, hey, we never get anything like this. And a majority of people out there's responses would be, yeah, like that's correct. But what you had in there was, okay, well, why not? And not only why not, but how can I make that happen? Are you always thinking about the opportunities that come across your table and, how you can potentially execute?
100%.
Yeah.
And some people will say that can be a negative thing in a sense of almost like scatterbrained. But I don't look at it that way. I look at it as growth. I look at it as, as you mentioned, opportunity to where no matter what, if you decide not to pursue something or not to give something a chance, then there's a guaranteed answer that it's not going to happen. Or the answer is a no versus a yes.
Sure.
But otherwise, if you don't give something a shot, it fades into that we know it's not going to come versus the possibility of even the slightest chance of something really growing into fruition and being possible to create a dream and create a business or an opportunity.
Yeah.
I've probably got like 4 or 5 other business plans already, constructed and built out that I really want to do, but I have to stay.
This is a tough part for me, and for those that are listening, I feel this on a very deep level, which is why I'm speaking about it, because, I have 2 restaurants. I have a media production company. I have a PR firm. I have a e-commerce whiskey product. So it's honestly a nonstop, just thing after thing after thing. But I will say this: even when I was younger, I would spend so much time fleshing these ideas out, and it's a little bit a different perspective from what you just said, because what you're talking about is really just take the chance, right? Hey, see this one through, make it happen. I actually have a little bit of a different approach, because I think a lot of people have just ideas. So they'll, dream up something and they'll say man, I have this great idea.
Yeah.
And you hear it all the time. But I think one thing that I did differently was I would take that idea and actually put pen to paper and really start fleshing it out. Right? So, for example, what's the business model going to be? What's my cost to be able to run this type of operation? What are going to be my marketing channels? Where is kind of how are people going to see this product? And I think what's important about that is I treated that as if it was an exercise. So I'm putting in the reps, right? I'm going to the gym. I'm basically fleshing this out. And even if it doesn't come true, at least I'm spending time on it to kind of get it to the point where all I need to do is pull the trigger and let's go. And that has benefited me so much throughout the years, because at this point, when something comes across my desk, my muscle's strong, because I've been thinking about this literally all the time. So you say that you have some business plans, man, I got some business plans. They're just filed away for the moment in time, and you never know when that opportunity might come.
Right.
So glad for the opportunity that presented itself with TAAG. How difficult was it through the processes of creating the company, getting everything, and you are getting ready to launch when?
Hopefully the end of this month. Hopefully, I believe the set date is around March 25th.
Okay. And you are going to be at
Rincon Golf Course. Okay. That's going to be our first course. Got a couple other courses in mind lined up. I won't mention names yet until we get some contracts signed.
Sure.
But the carts will first be coming out to Rincon Golf Course. And there's a lot of interest already.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been reaching out for friends of mine that have known this was kind of in the works. Because it's been about 8 months to a year that I've been kind of working on this. So kind of like you mentioned, probably not as in depth. A lot of the ideas come and ultimately my decision comes down to give it a shot. Why not? But I do analyze a little bit of that before I say, yeah, just give it a shot.
Sure.
Because for instance, this business venture cost a handful of money.
Sure.
And it was something that I was not just going to throw money at if I didn't have a true belief that it's something that will thrive in this area. So there was a little more on the planning side as far as, okay, where are my distributors that I'm going to get these carts from? What is my cost analysis, and aside from the bikes themselves, as far as transportation, and do I have a vehicle to pull the said transportation? What am I going to rent and charge for people to use the bikes? How much of that is going to be profit versus how much of it needs to go directly back into it in the beginning to make up some of that overhead?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, and as you said, pen to paper in the beginning. And then I eventually reached a point to where I said, okay, I think I'm about as far as I can go without pulling the trigger. And
sure.
I've got to get the bike. The only way I'm going to find out is I've got to take a leap. And I've got to get the bikes here. And in that sense, I analyzed and said, okay, as a worst case scenario, if this doesn't pan out, here's what I have to do to cut costs, break even, and not be penalized and hurt.
That is so important. Gambling, right? Because like ultimately you have to take that leap of faith, like we call it. But always be thinking of, you know, the back door, and building that into the strategy is critical, because, you know, business isn't always, oftentimes the first one that you do is not going to be the home run. If it is the home run, man, props to you. And I'm going to be cheering for you, like, you know, like nobody's business, but always having the thought of like, okay, what do I need to protect myself?
Right.
Because you can't just put it all on the line and just let it go, because that's dangerous, right? Like that's how people, like, you know, get into a lot of trouble.
Yep.
But talk to me about the Rincon golf course. Like, how difficult was that to kind of like line that up? What is it like out there? And walk me through like an experience if somebody was interested in kind of getting on one of these bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually a member out at Rincon Golf Course, and my man Paul Goff, who runs the show out there, shout out to Paul. When I had mentioned the idea to him, and it was kind of in passing, I just kind of stopped him as he was leaving one day and said, "Hey, Paul, I've got this idea that I really want to bring to the area. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on you guys being the first course and the first one to have these available?" Mm-hmm. And he loved it off the start.
Off the rip?
Off the rip. I mean, it was – so, I mean, that was a huge benefit, that he loved the idea so much and saw the traffic. I mean, he was already looking in the future, seeing the traffic that it would drive to the course.
Yeah.
Especially because if – you know, anybody that's listening or watching that is a golfer, handful of years ago, the course was in a little rough shape. It was in the process of being rebuilt.
Okay.
And had gone through a transition of a couple different management positions, if you will. But now we've got some guys over there on the ground crew that are just killing the game. Just absolutely making that course beautiful. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's night and day compared to what it used to be. The greens look phenomenal. Chris and Adam, the two main guys out there, are doing such a phenomenal job to really make that course what all of us as members have wanted it to look like for quite some time. Mm-hmm. But again, leading into Paul, you know, also being excited for a potential business to kind of lead in towards him and drive rounds, you know, additional rounds of golf at the course.
Yeah.
Because it does speed up the pace of play. So you can get more rounds throughout the day, which is a huge benefit and enticement for other courses to look at having this brought. But the biggest benefit for the course itself is they don't store the carts. They don't charge the carts. They don't do maintenance on them. TAAG is an outside vendor. Mm-hmm. We have a liability contract and waiver that guests have to sign every time before they get on the bike, no matter how many times they've driven it.
Yeah.
And the course will collect a cut of the proceeds and money coming in from the bikes being rented.
Gotcha.
Because we know that the courses make money off of their cart fees when the rounds of golf are booked through them.
Yeah.
So I don't want them. I know how business works in the sense of they've got to make their money too.
Sure.
But in this sense, how it would work and how we're setting it up with Rincon Golf Course first is you as the customer and as the golfer would come in, and if we have bikes available and they're not all rented out, which plan for all of them to be rented out all the time.
Love that.
You would come in, and instead of paying for the full round, you would pay, which includes your cart fee, you would pay for a greens fee, or as if you were going to be walking the course. Then you'll be able to come outside. We've got QR codes, which thankful to you guys and your team there. We've got QR codes that the user will scan, which brings them to an online portal where they will be able to fill out their information, which, disclaimer, you do have to be 18 years old, even with parental signature, doesn't matter. You have to be 18.
Okay.
But you'll fill out your information. You'll sign the contract and liability waiver, and then you will pay TAAG separately. And it ends out, your total sum ends up to only come out to about $10, $20 than more overall than you would typically pay for your round of golf to drive a motorcycle around on the course and have a heck of a lot more fun and elevate your experience of the game and of that round, hence taking it above average.
That's right.
So, we're the name the above average golf.
That's right. That sounds like an amazing strategy that you've kind of like put together. I think what stands out to me about what you said earlier was that Paul, was that his name? You actually, had Paul kind of interested in what you were doing before pulling the trigger.
Exactly.
And I think that that's actually a really great thing, because oftentimes, you can't just throw money at it and hope that, hey, this is going to happen. And even with Paul, because I'm sure he didn't sign the contract until you were kind of set in place. So there's still a little bit of risk there, right? But I think the fact that you had someone kind of you already had a customer lined up, if you will, and you already knew how to kind of proceed, was yet another phenomenal chess move to kind of move the game forward, right? And I love that about kind of the steps that you're taking. What do you think is the future of TAAG?
I think I kind of want to tag, pun intended. I kind of want to tag off of this there, in reference to Live Golf, as well as the new sporting event that Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods are starting, which is going to be a really something I'm really interested to see more. So it's more of like a virtual, not virtual, but more tech infused game of golf.
Interesting.
So it's going to be, I believe, teams of 3, and it'll be 6 teams of 3, and every Monday night, these professionals are going to play against each other in front of live audiences, just like they would. But it'll basically be like a sports season that these guys can play that almost hints to something more along the lines of, I'd say, in the realm of like a March Madness time frame.
Wow.
So they'll compete for 10 different weeks, 10 different matches, I believe.
Okay.
But that's really all the details that I know of it right now, because I think they're kind of holding off from releasing the major details. They've just kind of hinted at a couple things. But with that, and with Live Golf, and seeing the changes that they're making, which is really stirring up the industry, and a lot of people will say that they're against it, and it's messing up the game. It's taking away from tradition. But again, golf has become a sport and an activity and a lifestyle that's almost become stagnant. And with the way that society and this younger generation is moving towards, they want new, they want exciting, they want technological. They their view on fun and excitement is not what it was for our predecessors years ago.
That's right.
So with that being said, I think with this bringing something new and exciting to the area for the sport and lifestyle, that it could grow, that I would love to see these scooters at every golf course in the area.
Even the Masters? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Well, I think the Masters, you have to walk, right?
The Masters, you have to walk, except for your officials.
Yeah. So maybe they're just the ones that are
they're the ones cruising around on some TAAG scooters.
I love that. I love that.
But it's even in the aspect, I had a couple courses interested in a little more upscale, that they didn't necessarily want them full time. Yeah. Because I plan to average at least 4 to 5 days a week in the coming months. Right now, it's really only going to be weekends only until we can kind of make sure all our kinks are worked out and our bases are covered. Sure. But they've had interest in even bringing them out just for larger events.
Sure.
Just for big tournaments
Yeah.
or things like that, and have their officials or their participants in the tournaments be able to ride around on these bikes. And I plan to sponsor a couple of these tournaments in the sense of even giving away,
Sure.
or having the opportunity to win.
That's awesome.
One of these bikes.
That's awesome.
So it's people have the capability of, you'd have to add an attachment to your truck or whatnot, or maybe a small trailer, very, very tiny.
Yeah.
But it can be used as a personal cart.
That's awesome.
It's a certified golf cart.
Yeah.
So
I love that. How do people keep in touch? Like, how do people follow the journey? How do people follow the story?
Right now, I currently set up a Facebook page. I haven't fully launched that yet because I'm waiting on some nicer photos of the product and things to be edited and released, and then I'll be able to update some things, mainly for photo right or copyright purposes. I don't want to put up photos that I legally can't use.
Sure.
So at the moment, with Rink and Golf Course being the only course, you'll find me out there and a team member out there pretty much every Saturday and Sunday. However, with the Facebook page launching within the next week and a half, I plan on putting up a calendar that shows and states the exact days that we plan to be out there.
Makes sense.
That way no one gets upset if they're like, man, I really want to try this thing, and then they come out and we're not there.
That's right.
And it is, at the moment, it is a first come, first serve basis. We don't have like a reserved platform or capability yet, which may be something that we'll look at in the future. But this is, it's, you got to get it when you can.
I love that.
But I plan to have an Instagram as well.
Yeah.
And possibly a TikTok.
Okay.
We'll see how that kind of plays out. But the biggest social media platform will definitely be Facebook, as far as the calendar standpoint, to where I'll post every month at the very beginning of every month, or even a week before, the dates that we plan to be out there with the bikes.
What about some other services? Let's say that someone out there is looking for a wedding DJ or something of that nature, some entertainment.
Yeah.
How do they get in touch with you then?
So we definitely got a couple different platforms with that. Obviously, by email, topshelfentertainmentsav@gmail. And then I've got Facebook, which is Top Shelf Entertainment _ Savannah. Same with Instagram, Top Shelf Entertainment _ SAV for Savannah. Either one of those are a pretty simple way to get in touch with me. I've tried to be as quick as possible in my response time. I have a little bit on my plate.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But I try to be as quick as possible. Generally, within 24 hours, I like to have responses and answers back to people or to customers.
Yeah.
But we've got a full team on that aspect of the entertainment side. So if anyone is needing, not necessarily just a wedding, but they want to throw a party in the backyard.
Yeah.
And they want a DJ.
Yeah.
We can provide that. If they just need an officiant, we can provide that. Or if they just need coordination, we provide all of those services, but it's a lot easier to work with as an all-inclusive type package that we offer for an also better rate instead of booking things a la carte. We offer a little bit better rate if you book all of those services.
That's very, very cool. Jordon, I want to thank you for coming into the UKnowAdamTsang podcast today.
I do know AdamTsang.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I actually love hearing more. I've always seen your work, but never got into the nitty-gritty of like how and why you do what you do. And I can tell that with your dedication to the customer experience, which is oh so critical, that you will be successful in everything that you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.